Back and look at our society. I mean, if you go to 1800s, you can go to any part of the world. And in that part, so here in Bangalore, a village outside Bangalore, or let's say, in 1800 you go to, Europe, a part of Europe. And wherever you go, you roll back 1,000 years and you will be able to see that people lived more or less the same way for those 1,000 years, right? And then from 1800, everything has changed in every part of the world, right? And education, the governance, the way we bring up kids, our whole worldview has changed and continues to change as we go forward. So I think we are in this zone as a human civilization, right, which is dealing with change in a very different way than what we were dealing with it even a few hundred years ago, right? And this is in turn built on this notion of, radical change. You're taking an area and changing dramatically. Democracy was something like that. If you see the humanist movement in Europe was something like that. If you think of it in Europe for a society which was very feudal, to say that, all children are equal, are entitled to the same kind of education, no matter what their social standing is, was a very radical idea at that time. And so I think this is the era that we live in. And we are not trying to change for the sake of change. We are trying to change because the world around us is offering an opportunity to make these leaps forward. For example, in India, all this technology is offering us a leap to remove illiteracy in 10 years, something which hasn't been done in the last 60 years. So we can make more progress in the next 10 years than what we have done in the last 60 years because of the technology around us. But that then requires radical change. That requires kind of breaking the old paradigm and replacing it with a new paradigm. So I'm not necessarily saying change for the sake of change. I am saying change because you want to accomplish something. In this case, remove illiteracy in India. And that's a worthy goal. And that can only be accomplished by not doing continuous change. It can only be accomplished by breaking the old paradigm and replacing it with new. So that would be an example of transformational change. The same is true within companies today, right? And so if you look within the company, it is possible to build a complex system. You have this Google Lunar X Prize, right? Where there are many companies, many teams, not companies, many individual teams which are trying to send a rover to the moon. And now these are small efforts, usually 30, 40, 50 people. Now you go back even 10, 20 years, for anybody to imagine that you could even conceive of a moonshot like that would have been impossible. So today, in any sphere of life, you can now dream to do things that were not possible. Very often requires breaking free from the past. And that is what calls for, therefore, the need to embrace transforming change or radical change.